Welcome to another edition of the Grifters Ill-Advised podcast. I'm Stevie G, joined tonight by DB and Adam. What's going on, guys?
Not too bad. We're actually remote, huh? First time. So we'll see how shitty we sound.
Steve, how are you doing?
Good. We were just talking. Little guy's a little sick, so I didn't sleep much last night.
It's always tough when the little guys are sick.
Yeah, but he'll get over it. We'll be fine. Hopefully he sleeps through the night. I'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully it's not the coronavirus.
Why would you bring that up?
Knock on wood, man. It's all good.
I mean, I didn't send my 2-year-old to China by himself, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure though it's here, buddy. It's actually down the street, UPMC, so.
Well.
Oh, Jesus.
I haven't let him borrow the car to go to Pittsburgh yet, so.
I was straight panic mode at Presby, so.
Oh, DB went right into the heart of the...
I did. I went right into the heart. I went to Presby. I faced it. So far, I'm okay. We'll see how I am in 2 weeks.
I think we're past that. I think it was a much ado about nothing.
I'm starting to agree with you, Adam.
I think I'm more pissed about how China pretty much kept it secret for a very long time and then tried to cover it up. I think that's the bigger deal here. But, I mean, you never know, though. When you got something like a virus like that that's changing and morphing, you got to be careful with that. You don't want a pandemic on your hands. And what's funny is, I swear, was it like Netflix that just came out with that show? It was called Pandemic. Literally, like 2 weeks before all this broke out. Kind of crazy. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say, that's like on Friday we were talking about UFOs and all that stuff, and then DB sends that article about the repeating radio waves every, 15 days from space, and the UFO article we'll get to either today or tomorrow.
I'm working on some sources, and hopefully I'll have some more information for you guys.
And when he means by sources, he means Twitter. So, right, dude, That's where I get all my sources from, right? Wink, wink.
Hey, don't tell people our secrets.
No, hey, but what we talked about last week with we started talking about the UFOs, and then I don't know how I jumped into one of the paradoxes, the civilization paradoxes. That was the Fermi paradox, which is the great filter. So that was an interesting read when it's basically saying, all civilizations go through this great filter, and this great filter, we don't know when it is. We could already been through it, or we could be coming up to it. And basically what it is just saying you have, say, 1,000 civilizations, and they're all hanging out together, but only like one or two actually get through the great filter. What that great filter actually is, who knows? But it's something cool to look up. So
where are we on this right now?
Well, we don't know. Like, we don't know where we stand because we don't know if there's any other civilizations out there, number one. Number two, you have to define as far as how technologically advanced we are, what kind of civilization we are. I think we're only like a civilization 2. And in order to get to civilization 3, we would have passed through the great filter, if that makes sense.
I love
it's
how
the Fermi
make
paradox.
This stuff up, but like they have nothing to base it off of.
Well, I don't know if when you mean nothing to base it off of, it's theory.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah,
all of it's theory. I mean, it'd be nice to get some facts. Be like, hey, yeah, we got a sweet little galaxy neighborhood right down the street. They've been around for 1 million years. Keep in mind, I mean, how long have humans been on this planet? 1 million years, maybe. That's not that long. I mean, just imagine if we run into a civilization that's been on the Earth for 4 or 5 million years. You're ridiculous. They'd be so far technologically advanced, it'd be unbelievable.
Maybe those are DB sources.
Hey, leave the sources alone.
Oh, DB's getting yelled at.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can take that out.
Goodbye.
Bye, DB.
I'm still here. I'm not going up.
Well, you sure you don't want to go up? I don't want you to get in trouble.
No, I'm trying to look up the human thing.
Anyway, while DB's looking that up, did either of you guys see the Mike Tomlin interview this week on ESPN?
No, but I heard about it.
So you know what the gist of it was. The helmet thing that happened during the season. A few weeks after Myles Garrett accused Mason Rudolph of the racial slur, it all kind of died down. Well, then, now that football's over, I guess ESPN didn't have anything better to do. So they interviewed Myles Garrett again, and he brought up that Mason Rudolph used a racial slur again. And then they decided to have an Outside the Lines program after the interview to discuss the interview. And everybody on the panel there just took Myles Garrett's word as the truth, which is completely irresponsible journalism.
Journalism. That's what you call that journalism. This is what we live in nowadays with politics, culture, entertainment. No one gives a shit about the truth anymore, getting the facts before they start broadcasting reports like that. And they give their own opinion. They don't have the full story.
It's another example of ESPN leaning left and trying to be woke.
Yeah.
They only took the one side of it as the truth and didn't even present that possibly Myles Garrett was lying.
Well, now, they wanted so bad for that story to be true. Because that, like you said, it plays right into their agenda.
Well, not only does it do that, but they were the ones who brought up the theory of a racial slur being used as reason for Myles Garrett's actions before anybody said anything. Like, I think it was Josina Anderson, maybe.
Yeah.
She came out and said, "Oh, there must have been a racial slur used," which is just irresponsible. I mean, and we're three white dudes, so I was kind of steering away from this. But when Mike Tomlin comes out and goes on First Take and backs Mason Rudolph, I have to believe that he did more investigating than even the NFL did to make sure if he's going to stick his neck out over that word in this topic, that it was not said.
Right. I mean, I agree, because if Myles Garrett heard it, there had to have been others that heard it, right?
They're saying that there were linemen within 1 to 3 feet.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch the video. You can watch the entire video and make the call yourself. So Mason Rudolph is not Tom Brady, right? Not Drew Brees.
No.
So there's no reason to protect him if you were his teammate. So if you were one of the teammates and he did say it, you would probably come out and strongly condemn what he said, right?
Yeah, he's not the starting quarterback. DB, stop moving your microphone.
I'm not moving.
I think, honestly, I don't think he said anything. I think Myles Garrett was embarrassed that he reacted the way he did.
He's looking for it now.
He went the route that he knew would get support. And I don't know, Myles Garrett, obviously, he's a great football player. I think he just made a heat of the moment kind of mistake there. He shouldn't have done it. It's tough to go after someone's character like that. Strong words like that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, hold on, guys. Somebody's moving something pretty bad.
That's DB, because it's not me. I hear it too. I hear a whirl. It's like a whirling.
Yeah.
Could it be the people upstairs?
Well, no, it sounds like, when you're here and you're moving your microphone and it's making that noise. That's
DB.
Doing.
DB's over there adjusting stuff.
DB.
Admit it.
DB's over there trying to figure out a way to play video games, and he's moving stuff, and he's like, "It's not me."
I'm downstairs in the basement.
Meanwhile, now that you know, it's stopped. Like, it's not happening now.
Yeah,
maybe I'm
exactly.
Scribbling in my chair.
So go back to what you were saying, Steve. We can redo that real quick.
Yeah, Steve, stay on point.
Yeah, so you brought up the point that if you were a lineman or even an African American teammate of Myles or Mason Rudolph, like, he's not your starting quarterback, so you're not gonna vehemently defend him like they were. You're probably gonna call him out and say, it was the heat of the moment, it was in the middle of the game, something along those lines, to try to not make it as bad, but admit that he did it. And then there were people online saying for the NFL to release the audio. Well, after the NFL came out and said during their investigation that there was no audio, because yes, the linemen are mic'd up, but those microphones get turned off as soon as the ball is snapped.
Oh, that's
bull.
Yeah,
well,
that's baloney.
Okay, but whether you believe that or not, if the NFL had any proof that one of their stars, Myles Garrett, who was involved in one of the most talked about negative things in the NFL last year, if they had proof that he was provoked with a racial slur, do you honestly think they're going to protect a backup quarterback over a star?
And
No.
I mean, it's not even just that. I think they would have, say it was Tom Brady who's being accused. I still think if he actually did say something like that, say Tom Brady said something like that, I think it would be handled in-house. And I think at that point, Bill Belichick, if it was true, I don't think he'd go on ESPN and vehemently deny the reports and back up Tom Brady, if that makes sense.
No, I know exactly what you mean. But my other point was the NFL, if they had something, could easily come out and say there was a slur said. We can't tell who said it. So it backs Myles Garrett's claim that it was said, but it doesn't finger point at anybody.
Well, everyone would know. It would be implied.
It would be implied, but you wouldn't be finger pointing. And that was just they could have come out and said something better, So there are ways they could have got around it if they had anything.
How is this the best thing they have to talk about in the offseason? I mean,
well, I think
the XFL is not doing that great.
The XFL had pretty good numbers week 2.
Yeah, the attendance was up 9%.
Yeah,
not bad, Steve.
Yeah.
What about the viewership?
The ratings?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you got, Steve?
They might have been down a little bit, but I know one game. I know one of the games.
I mean, they're competing with you. You had Daytona 500 Sunday. You have college basketball. Sunday. You actually have golf now Sunday.
I think everyone involved in that was happy with the week 2 numbers. But getting back to the Tomlin thing, as a Steeler fan, I was happy to see Tomlin come out and do that because the ESPN was
you don't really hear
bullying
Tomlin too much either.
No, that's another point of it. Because ESPN was kind of bullying the Steelers and Mason Rudolph, just taking Myles Garrett's side and not even having somebody on who would argue that there could be another side to this. I mean, let's face it, Mason Rudolph is probably not going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So who knows how long he's going to be in there. So he's going to have a life after football. And something like that, being accused of it, is going to affect him professionally after he's done.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to come back from that. People do. But
yeah, but that's what I mean. It's just something that people are going to, the first thing they think of when they see him is going to be, oh, did he say it or not?
And I think Tomlin did a good job at getting out there and basically just squashing the story before it got out of control.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I was just upset with how ESPN handled it. Like, if you want to take that stance, that's fine, but have at least somebody or acknowledge that there could possibly be another side to this story where Myles Garrett is lying.
But that's the woke culture nowadays. That's what we live in. They go for ratings. You see that everywhere now, and it's not right. I bitch about that stuff all the time with the media. It's not right. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is now. And it wasn't that bad, 4 or 5 years ago. You know what happened? Trump got into office. I hate to say it. Trump got into office, and everyone just blew their lid. And what they wanted to do was they hated him so much that any opinion or stance that he took, everyone else had to take the polar opposite and be exactly the opposite of what he stood for, whatever it was. And that's where I think it took woke culture and put it on steroids. And now we're living in it right now with the media and with the SJWs out there, the social justice warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
And usually ESPN does lean, left? But yeah. It's not too bad. But this is one where you're affecting someone's professional life even after football by that irresponsible journalism. And it just upset me. And then I also loved how when they were promoting Tomlin's appearance on their social media and all that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they would cut off right before he goes into ripping ESPN because he ripped into them for how they were covering this thing.
As he should. Because there's no more integrity in journalism. There's none. And I said Trump, but a lot of it has to do with social media too, and I think we touched on that a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, but it's all about ratings. It's all about getting the first clicks and
clickbait.
I mean, it's clickbait. Do you want to be the first ones to get that out there on Twitter to get the clickbait?
You can always go back and retract it.
you could retract it at 2 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
after it's retweeted 40, 50,000 times.
So as a Steeler fan, I was ticked when I saw how they handled that, but I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't have all the facts. And like I said, with us being white, I don't really want to touch on those types of subjects without knowing all the facts. But when Mike Tomlin's sticking his neck out there as a leader, as an African-American leader in the NFL, I feel a little bit better about coming out against ESPN and the way they handled that. And I was glad to see he did it. Made me proud for him to be our coach.
Yeah, it was nice to see. Like I said, you don't see him speak too much, so when he does have something to say, it's carrying some weight.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like for him to do that, he was, as he said, hacked off. And he must be sure Mason Rudolph didn't say that.
Yeah.
And good for him. I was happy for that.
Going back to the XFL, the one big number that matters is how much money was bet. Because if people are betting money, it's going to stay around.
Well, I know my dad did another week of FanDuel, DraftKings.
Yeah, money is what drives sports.
And I believe
college football.
I believe I saw.
But is the XFL getting a cut of that from the casinos?
Well, you expect the betting to turn into TV ratings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I saw an article where I think it was Seattle. I think it was them. They had like 10,000 season tickets sold, or tickets for the last game sold, one of the two. So that's a lot of tickets for.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this. The XFL should go the way of like minor league baseball, how they do things. Yeah, they're getting paid, but minor league baseball games are more entertaining to go to than the major leagues.
Yeah, there's a lot going on before, during, and after
yes,
the actual sporting event.
And I will say, with the access to the coaches and players, I didn't think I'd care. But when you have Matt McGloin throwing 3 interceptions and then they're sticking a microphone in his face, you get him pretty much saying his team sucks.
Yeah.
So that is a good aspect of it that I didn't think I'd care about.
But do you think it's going to wear off? Like the shiny new item is going to wear off with the XFL, and it's just going to come down to quality of play. And I know we talked about that. Was it? I think it was last week we talked about that little texting war, but I don't. I don't know. You still have to have some quality for people to come and say, because eventually that's what drives it. That's how I look at it. If they don't have the quality in the play, no one's going to want to show up and watch it.
No,
that's how I look at it. I still think they might get a year out. I don't think they'll renew the contract, whatever it is, if for next year. I don't see it coming back. It's just there's no stars. Like who are you tuning in to see? And you mentioned before it's all about entertainment. Yeah, but you got to get a lot more for me to tune in. But that's just me.
Well, I'm looking up right now because there is a XFL QB who.
Cardell Jones.
PJ Walker. I'm trying to figure out which team he plays for. It doesn't matter. But he is exciting to watch. I thought it was Houston, but I'm wrong. Let's see. Who is it?
I mean, I personally, I have not watched.
I haven't watched any of it.
5 minutes
Houston
at Steve's house.
I watched. Let me go back. I did watch a little bit the first week, but I mean, after you get over the whole way of doing the extra point and then the kickoff, it's just the quality of play is just awful.
But okay, so you have Landry Jones, who last week was his first game back after a while. 305 yards, couple interceptions. You would expect him to get better. That PJ Walker I was just talking about, he does play for Houston Roughnecks. He's fun to watch. He's mobile. He was throwing sidearm touchdowns last week. If you're going to be trying to draw equivalents, he's like the Patrick Mahomes of the XFL. He's fun to watch.
The one thing the XFL can hope is some of these players go to the NFL training camp and make a difference. They can view that as a stepping stone getting to the NFL. I mean, that could work. Yeah,
because right now you have people who don't want to go play in the XFL because they think it's like a gimmicky league and they still have dreams of playing in the NFL. Whereas if you get people who, like you said, do well in the XFL and go on to the NFL, then you'll have people who normally would say no, be like, yeah, I'm going to go there because I'll get showcased. It's a legitimate league. and I can get back in the NFL. I still like it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
hey,
something to
you
watch.
know what?
I don't watch golf. Can't that's not my.
Oh
thing.
yeah, I want. See, right now it's Sundays for me. It's golf. I switched over from NFL to golf on Sundays, so I'll watch that going forward. I'll watch. You got March Madness coming up here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the XFL really only has 2 more weekends because then we're gonna get into college basketball tournament for the SEC Big Ten championships.
Yeah,
and then you go right into March Madness. So they got 2 more weeks, 2 more weekends.
Yeah, maybe. I'd rather watch the XFL.
Then you got spring and summer, and no one's watching TV. You got baseball.
Well, they're done after. They only have 10 weeks. We're already 2 weeks in. They only have 8 weeks and then playoffs. So you're looking at, what would that be? March, April, maybe May, and they're done.
See, I could see their regular season not doing so well as far as pulling in numbers. And then once playoffs hit, I bet a lot of people tune in because everyone loves drama.
So speaking of the playoffs, did you see the NFL's new proposal?
Yeah, it was what? Like they get an extra team in the playoffs?
One less preseason game, which is nice.
One extra regular season game.
Which is nice. More meaningful, more fantasy,
and
more betting.
2 more playoff teams? Because they were saying you would have...
It'd be 7 and 7, and then there'd only be 1 bye now. I'm pretty sure. You could double check, but...
Yeah, I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's a money grab. It's so when they go to negotiate the television contracts, when that comes due, it's going to be astronomical, the money they get. And that's the only reason they're doing it.
Money drives everything.
But all this BS about they care about player safety, no, they don't. Because if they cared about that, they wouldn't add the 17th regular season game.
I don't know, because I think they've made a lot of improvements towards player safety. I also think that if you're gonna, I think you're right. Now that I think about it, they're all about player safety with the concussion protocol, the way that they handle those things now, and the rule changes that they made for quarterbacks and the hits. But that extra game, they know that's going to be bringing in a lot more money. And now that they're going to have an extra game in the playoffs on both sides, so that you're getting 2 extra playoff games, right? Because there's only going to be 1 bye now.
Yep.
So are they going to start the same week as college then? Because they always started a week after college.
Well, no, because they're just taking their number of weeks is the same because they're taking away the 1 preseason game and adding.
That's what I'm saying. Though, are they going to start?
No, they won't need to. They can still start the same week they always do.
They can just push the preseason games a week back because there'll only be how many games you say there will be? They'll be down to 3 preseason games.
Yeah. All they're doing is taking one of the preseason games and making it a regular season game.
Yeah.
So they can start the same week.
Well,
so then the playoffs and Super Bowl are going to be pushed back 2 weeks.
No. So normally you have 4 preseason games.
Yes.
You're only going to have 3. So
so that would mean that they would be teeing off with college football because typically that 4th.
I see what Steve's saying though is just think of it as they're going to axe the first preseason game and then they'll have preseason games 2, 3, and 4. And then start right after that.
Yeah, that's true.
So but they're going to go an extra week, Steve, so it's going to push the playoffs and everything back.
No, what I'm saying is their first preseason game will start the same week it always does. Then they will have the 2nd week of preseason, the 3rd week of preseason, and then you'll have your 1st week of regular season.
Which used that's to be, what DB and I are saying.
That's what I said in the beginning 5 minutes ago.
They'd be teeing off with college football opening weekend.
Yeah.
DB was saying they usually start after. They'll start at the same time.
I said that.
No, Steve, you're not paying attention.
What I said.
Not paying attention over there.
The NFL will be starting the same week it always.
All right, now you're completely lost.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way if they're doing an extra NFL game, then they're going to have to start a week earlier. If they're planning on keeping the same playoff format, which they're still going to have the same amount. Let's go back. So
I think they're going to have the same amount of playoff weeks.
Yeah, right. Because they're going to have 6 games, 3 and 3.
Yes.
Oh man, the amount of money they're going to get on wild card weekend. Oh, it's 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. All the network, NFL just printing money, man.
The trickle down of that is, so the NFL is going to sign these astronomical TV deals now. Well, those TV stations that get those contracts, they're going to have to raise what they charge the cable companies for their station.
Yeah.
So ESPN is already the most expensive channel. If they are bidding and get more NFL games, they're going to raise their price even more, which will then lead to more cord cutting because people who don't care about sports aren't going to want to pay that much for ESPN.
No.
So there's going to come a point in time where these huge TV contracts aren't going to be out there because there's going to be
you're going to see
people.
NFL starting to go towards Amazon or a Netflix or a Hulu.
Well, they have their own. I could see it going to its own streaming service.
Wow, yeah, they could charge whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't buy it because I wouldn't. They, like you said, they'd probably charge a large amount, and I wouldn't want to pay it.
Steve, you're Mr. NFL, okay?
Oh yeah, I care so much.
You die hard.
Mm-hmm. So
all right, I'm here to see if they are going to start when college football starts that Sunday or the following week.
Well, that is interesting because colleges play on that Sunday.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know how those TV deals are.
I think it's only typically two games, though.
Yeah, but usually like Monday night, if the NFL's starting, they'll have a Monday night game. Usually
they
Monday
have
night,
two on Sunday, one on Monday, yes.
But usually that Monday is a pretty good game.
I agree with you, Steve.
You know, they like premier teams in there. So I don't know how that'll affect it. I also liked how the owners said they really didn't need the approval of the players to do this. The owners don't think this is considered part of the CBA.
Of course not.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Is that true?
I didn't understand it. But
there's no way. I mean,
I saw on Twitter they were saying the owners do not believe that they need the players to ratify the new CBA to get this in, which would be asinine to me because this is dealing with money, games played, player safety, like all kind of stuff that you would assume is controlled by the CBA.
Yeah, I think it has to be. That just doesn't make any. That report doesn't make any sense. How are the players not going to have a voice in that?
I'm with you.
That makes no sense. It's a CBA. They would have to work in conjunction with NFLPA. They would have to.
I would think so, but I'm just telling you what I read online today.
Christ, you got to stay offline, Steve. Don't be going
back
Google.
to the
Don't
schedule for 1 second. There is only one. There's no game on Sunday, and there's one game Monday, September 7th. It's Virginia at Georgia. Decent game. I mean, Georgia's going to win by 2 touchdowns, but
what are you talking about?
College football, the schedule for the opening weekend.
Oh.
Potentially interfering with NFL.
Adam, did you see your Pitt Panthers got in trouble today?
Yeah,
what happened there?
What was
Adam?
that about?
You're the Pitt insider, Adam. You got.
I saw it. I didn't get a chance to look at it.
You don't want to know what's going on at your school?
No, I forgot to look. I mean, I saw the report. I just didn't get a chance to read it. I don't care.
Typical
until
Pitt
they become relevant. Yeah. Who cares?
Oh, here we go.
Yep, that's no big deal. No big deal. Now, if it was Penn State, it would be the end of the world.
And here's the other thing.
That is absolutely correct.
If the first week Pitt is 1-0 and Penn State loses 0-1, you know for a fact DBMI's phone will be getting blown up by all our Pitt friends saying, "Oh, look, we have a better record than you."
Yep.
But now it's just like, "Oh, ho hum, we got in trouble."
Yeah, we got a little trouble.
We don't care.
We didn't try. I mean, they only tried to cover stuff up. That's all. They tried to cover a little bit of stuff up.
Typical Pitt, you know. But heaven forbid they have a better record than Penn State after week 1. All of a sudden, they'll be coming out of the woodwork to say how much they love their Pitt Panthers.
All I'm saying is no one really gives a shit about Pitt. I mean, they're not relevant. So it's not like it means anything. They didn't benefit from any of that. They suck. They've always sucked.
They tried stuff and they tried to cheat and it still didn't help them.
They tried to practice more and they got worse.
Yeah. Jesus.
Good one, Steve. You're over
that was
there
pretty good, Steve. I like
bottles. Christ, we gotta get some energy in this fucking podcast. I'm falling asleep over here.
Are you? All right. Well, fine then, Adam.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, hold on.
DB's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
I'm out. No. Goodbye.
DB has his PlayStation to go play.
My Call of Duty's waiting for me.
Did you notice once we yelled at him to stop moving the microphone, the sounds went away?
Yes.
You know for a fact.
I think it was. I was on my. I was swinging around on my chair. That was a no-no.
So what were you doing? Like spinning in a circle like a 4-year-old?
No, I was just rocking. I was on a rocker.
DB, we saw into your basement. You weren't on a rocking chair.
I was 100% on a rocking chair, Steve.
He'd be pulling out the rocking chair. I didn't even know he owns one.
That's from my parents' house. I got it downstairs.
That's
Hope one day I
That's
can
where
grip
DB
it.
goes when all hell breaks loose upstairs. He just goes downstairs and gets that rocking chair and rocks.
I rock my worries away.
The kids ask his wife, "Where's Daddy?" "Oh, he's downstairs rocking again. He'll be up in 10 minutes."
I rock my worries away.
What else
So
you got, Steve?
Well,
Before we lose our entire audience, if they're even going to be here by the time.
I
This
told you
gets
guys
out
we had like 15 new subscribers since our last episode. So thank you to those guys.
Well, I
We're
think we pretty much.
Yeah, we just lost
Even
them after
Steven
this
after
episode.
tonight.
Yeah, so that's great. But the Democratic debate was yesterday. I didn't watch or hear anything about it.
Oh, eating up.
Did you
So-
live under a rock today? Like you didn't hear or see one thing about it the entire day?
My kid was sick all day. I was dealing with that. I didn't care about finding out what
You
happened
didn't
last
pick
night.
your phone up, look at Twitter, nothing. Okay, Steve. Okay.
Well, I figured Adam could tell me.
Okay.
So what went on?
What went on? A dumpster fire. That's what went on. You could have got your sticks out, put some marshmallows on there and roasted because it was a dumpster fire. It was a fucking dumpster fire. And I you know what? I feel bad because I have a lot of friends that support the Democratic Party, and that is not their party anymore. I mean, it is not their party. You're looking at Pete Buttigieg, who says he's a moderate, but if you look at his policies, he's progressive as fuck. You have Bernie, who's leading, who's a socialist, who was called a commie last night. He was called out as a communist, which was a little harsh because, I mean, it's not technically communism, but
Who called him out as a communist?
Bloomberg, who's a billionaire.
I love these guys. It's like
It was-
comedy hour.
The first hour was hilarious. It was great. I mean, I thought it was a blood sport. I mean, there was a bloodbath up there. They were all just finally going after each other, which was a matter of time. But I don't know, man. These guys just Warren's terrible. She's an absolute. Her whole life's built on a lie. She lied on her what was that? Her thing to get into college, said she was Mexican or Hispanic. No, she was
Native American.
Native American. So she lies about that. She just flip-flops all over the place on policies. Bernie is a socialist, right? So he hates billionaires. He fucking hates billionaires. It used to be he hated millionaires and billionaires, but now that he's a millionaire, he only hates billionaires.
Well, here's
but
the
he
thing
hates
about-
billionaires. He wants to get rid of billionaires. But at the same time, he wants to use those billionaires and take all their money to give it to everyone else. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Here's my thing about Bernie. I like a lot of his ideas. I think they're great. I just don't know how we would pay for them.
It's socialism. It doesn't work. Socialism looks great on paper. You know, let's help the workers out. Let's help middle America. Let's help everyone out. It's great. You know, you look at it on paper, it is swell. It is phenomenal. But then you implement it and all hell breaks loose. It is the worst thing you could possibly do for a country. You're talking about the government controlling wealth and the means of production. So for instance, DB owns a couple businesses, right? He basically wouldn't have a say in anything that he does for that business anymore. He would be taxed. He would have to deal with all the health care. He would deal with the minimum wages. He'd be told what to provide them.
Well, that might be better for DB's business if he wasn't allowed to do anything.
Right. But the problem is we live in a capitalistic market. That's what makes America phenomenal. Like, that's why we are so good at what we do, because we're a capitalistic market. And another thing with Bernie is he keeps talking about how it's going to be like Denmark. Denmark is not a socialist country. None of those Scandinavian countries are. They're not socialist countries. They have, big market, big government, and they have high taxes. But they have a market. Their markets are open, and they're a capitalistic market. So it's a pure lie. It's just a straight up lie that he says that it's like Denmark, but it's not, because Denmark's not a socialist country. But
all right, so I just looked up and they were saying Bloomberg got destroyed. What happened to him?
they all came after him in the first
all
10
attacked him.
minutes. It was a slaughter. It was
Was
a
it-
slaughter. And Bloomberg was not ready. And that's what I was saying before, I think before we jumped on. But he needs to hire his debate coach or whoever it was who prepared him.
He needs to
because he was
fire.
not
He needs to
prepped.
fire them.
Yeah.
Fire.
Come on, you know better to apologize. You can't apologize anymore. You cannot apologize. Like, he was apologizing for the stop and frisk, the redlining. He was apologizing for all of that stuff, which he shouldn't have. He should have came out and said, hey, these policies, they were put forth by my campaign. The Supreme Court passed these laws, or passed these ideas into law, and they saved thousands of Hispanic and African American lives. Now, the way that it came out, I think the philosophy of what he was using, his verbiage was terrible with it, but he saved thousands of lives with. So he needed to stand a little bit on that and not just get on his knees and start apologizing to Warren and to Bernie, who called him out. I think it was Bernie, but that was number one. And then they just go after him because he paid his way to get on stage, which is
so they
ridiculous.
They just pretty much ganged up on him and told him to get the F out, is what I'm guessing.
Basically, he kind of caught his they all caught a breath halfway through, and they got some footing in the second half of the debate. But their ideas are just, you can't sit there and talk about fixing climate change in the next 10 years because it's not going to happen. We don't have the technology. If you really care about changing climate or helping with global warming and CO2 emissions, you can invest in nuclear energy. You can invest in carbon catchers that are out there now. But they don't want to do that. They just want to sit there and talk about how these coal companies and power plants are making a profit, and they don't care about anyone else, even though that we literally run on fossil fuel. So if all fossil fuel left this country tomorrow, we would all go to hell. Like, we would be fucked. We'd be absolutely fucked. We'd have to go get electric cars. Our costs would go sky high. You think windmills are going to help? You got to get like an entire state filled. A California state filled of windmills to operate a small county. I mean, we just don't have the technology right now to just completely jump off ship fossil fuels. And everyone knows this, except for they're pandering. That's what they do. They're virtual signaling. And I mean, it's not a winning debate. It's just not. It's not a winning issue. I don't know why they constantly, I don't know. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a goddamn socialist, and he's winning. He's leading the nomination right now.
That should be good. That should be good for Trump. It'll be an easy general election.
It should be, but it's also the riskiest because if it's a full government takeover. What do you think is going to happen to the markets? You think if Bernie gets in, the next day our stock market will absolutely plunge to its death because no one's going to want to invest.
That's exactly what happened when Trump won. It came back.
But Trump's a capitalist. He doesn't want government to control.
Well, let's not overreact here.
What do you think is going to happen? He wants to control the means of production in agriculture and healthcare, in oil and gas, and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, but you have to remember he needs both House and Senate to get stuff passed, and he's
not going. I mean, hopefully he doesn't. So then what's he? So he's just going to sit there at the top of the hill and just mope for 4 years.
That's pretty much what every president does.
Yeah,
because most of them don't have control over both the House and Senate. That's why one of the big things is having a president who can actually work together with both sides so they get stuff done. That's more important than anything.
Correct.
And Trump
that is correct.
Trump, our current president, cannot work with the Democrats. So that's why there's a lot of things getting stalled.
Well, I don't think it's that he can't work with them. I just think both sides choose not to work with one. I mean, let's be honest. Whatever Trump does, it's the Democrats hate, and that's just how polarized we are right now. And hopefully it changes over time. I don't know. I mean, but I don't think he still has executive power. He'll still put in to law a lot of things based off of executive order. So,
Adam, was that you messing around with the microphone?
No.
Stevie,
why would you ask Adam?
So it was you again. Jesus Christ, Stevie.
I mean, why would you start with Adam?
Well, because Adam sounded like he was leaned back way far from the microphone, and then he came back, so I thought maybe it was him. But of course, it was Stevie again. What were you doing? What was so important during Adam's talk that you had to screw around with the microphone?
I saw this thing on the bottom of the mic, and I wanted to see what it did.
Can you not? It's only been 45 minutes. Could you not just sit and talk and not be distracted?
I am sitting right here.
Bernie wants to for the minute. Let's just take minimum wage as an example. He looks at billionaires and says, "Hey, you guys have a lot of money. You should be spending more on your employees." That's a fair take. But do you think making the minimum wage 15 is really going to help all the small businesses? because there's a lot of small businesses in the United States. I think what you need to do, and I don't know if this is what's going to happen, but minimum wage probably should go up from 7 to probably around 10. I think go with inflation. But when you start just setting minimum wage at a certain number, you have no idea. It's arbitrary number. How is that going to help anything? Because the market ultimately defines and dictates someone's wealth. So if DB builds his business up, he got 20 workers working under him. His business thrives in the summer, so he got a lot of college kids, probably pays them $9-10 as an example.
DB pays you in Sheets lunches.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
we all know that, but I'm just using DB as an example.
Pick a better example.
He's on a big business. He got 20 guys underneath him. He does pretty well. He's comfortable. He's not making $3 million a year. But then you want to jump up the minimum wage to $15-16 an hour when they're making 10. You think DB's going to be like, yeah, you know what? Let's just do that. And then I'll just lose a shit ton of money and life will go on, because these workers who really don't give a shit about my business, the business that I started, I put all the risk in by investing and taking time out and building a clientele list in the very beginning. They don't really give a shit, but you know what? Let's just jump it up to 16 and then I'll take a big cut at the end. Fuck it, So that's obviously not going to happen because DB's a businessman and he knows that that's just not how it works. So what he's going to have to do is to stick with making sure he's paying expenses and all that. You're going to end up having to let people go. And that's what they were talking about, where you can make the minimum wage $15-16, but just be prepared that businesses are going to lay people off because they have a certain threshold that they need to meet. And they use billionaires and big corporations as the poster for all this, when that's really such what's the word? It's just such an outlier that it doesn't really represent all of America. DB would be spending $5,000-6,000 extra a month, and that's just off the top of my head because of the minimum wage. And I mean, you're paying a college student $15-16 an hour to do labor. I don't know if it'd be worth it. And like I said, I think DB can set it at 10
I don't feel the
o'clock.
burn. I'm not feeling the burn.
And then you're going to be paying more taxes, because who do you think's going to pay for all the free healthcare? Businesses. They're going to go after the top 1% while tax it, which what's going to happen is billionaires aren't stupid. They built businesses. They're going to say, you know what? I don't really need to live here in the United States. I'll just go up to Canada and pay a smaller tax rate and life will go on. So then guess what? So then all these billionaires will fucking leaving the United States. They might go overseas. They might go down south. And guess what goes with them? Capital growth, investing, all that leaves. So then workers aren't going to be bitching about making $15 an hour, $12 an hour. They're not going to have a job because they're going to take all the investment and go somewhere else. That's why it's tough it's hard when Bernie makes billionaires look like they're just these greedy people, because they make a lot of money. They built those businesses themselves. If DB built his business from the ground up, and 5-10 years from now, it's a $300 million business. Do you think DB's going to be like, yeah, you know what? I should give all this money to the workers because they're the ones who really made it happen. No, DB took all the fucking risk. He put all the investment in it. These workers are working. That's what they do. When they don't like the job in 3 years, they get out. He's paying for all their health care, all their benefits. That's why I don't feel bad. Like, I don't have contempt for billionaires, because that's the American dream. They put the work in. They invested. Now, some can be corrupt, obviously. There's corruption everywhere. But to go after every billionaire and call them greedy is just ridiculous. End of rant.
You feel better?
Yeah. But
I think it's all a moot point, because nobody's going to beat Trump in general. So it's just we don't got to worry about the burn.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's hope, because that's healthcare. That's going to be a disaster. Free what was it? He wants to give everyone free tuition. Christ. Like I said, socialism on paper looks wonderful. It looks like a utopia society. But when you start implementing it,
and even if there was a Hail Mary and he got in there, he wouldn't get this stuff wouldn't get passed.
You'd still have the problem is there's still going to be side effects. Like I said, with the market, no one's going to want to invest in a market where there's potential for government intervention.
He could have 2 more heart attacks between now and the election.
I know.
Hey.
Look, I respect Bernie because he's been true to himself for the last 40 years, even though he's lived off the goddamn government for 40 years. But, he's kept the same message the whole time. He hasn't flip-flopped. I'll give him that. He knows how to get excitement out of his base. You can't fault him in that. It's just he's just a it'd be terrible.
So I've been watching Swamp People while you've been talking. Those people are freaking crazy.
Oh my God, Steve.
All this just went over Steve's head. He wasn't even paying attention, DB.
Well, I mean, he didn't know what happened in debate last night. So, I mean,
The most sensible, as of right now, the most sensible candidate would be probably Bloomberg or Amy.
The guy I like dropped out.
who'd you like, Steve? Booker.
Yeah. No, Yang.
Yin Yang twins.
Yeah, Yang came with some.
He
I
was
liked
never
him.
getting elected.
I liked him though.
He had some originality to his ideas, at least. I wasn't real big on the UBI. I don't know how that would work, but which was he wanted to give everyone $1,000 a month.
Yeah, I didn't say I agreed with everything, but
But no, I agree.
he was my leading guy.
He was the most sensible one. He's like, listen, you guys are blaming everything on Trump. It's not really Trump's fault. You know, I don't know what to tell you. And he was sensible. He's smart, entrepreneur, but he's not part of the establishment. So he got the boot. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. She wasn't with the establishment. She got the boot.
She went goodbye.
But Bloomberg, you got money, you can pay, get in there. So it's a mess. It's a total mess. But to be fair, back in 2015, the Republican Party during their primaries were an absolute mess too. So you never know. That's why no one thought Trump would win. Let's be honest. No one thought Trump would win. And he won. That's what scares me a little bit with Bernie, because he does have a backing and he does bring excitement. So he'd be the best one to go against if you're looking as if you're conservative, moderate, but also he'd be the riskiest because he could do some damage.
As is contractually obligated, I need to talk about Joe Burrow.
Oh, God.
Jesus. What's the Joe Burrow story this week, Steve?
Well, there's talk that he might pull an Eli Manning,
Oh, my God.
and that if the Bengals draft him, he might not play.
That's just you're buying into ESPN's talk. They need something to talk about.
Well, so if that's the case, do you see the Bengals trading the first pick?
No.
Not even if he comes out and says, I'm not going to play for him.
No. That happened with San Diego, and they still picked him and then traded. The Bengals.
It's not going to happen. Steve, who are you going to trade Joe Burrow for?
If he's not going to play for you,
Who said he's not going to play for you?
Just saying, there were reports out.
He's buying into the ESPN stuff that earlier in the show he was complaining about.
I was complaining about them and the way they handled that one specific incident. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
By the way, these swamp people, they're searching for a Nile croc in
Okay,
the
I
middle
want to hear
of the
about
night.
damn swamp people. I don't
Steve,
care.
Swamp People were 2005. I don't know how you're still watching Swamp People.
Yeah, Steve.
Like,
He knows about
okay,
swamp
what's his name?
people.
Turtle
Doesn't know
Man?
about
Remember
the
Turtle Man? Turtle Man?
Okay, this is from 2017, so you're a little off there, Adam.
No, but I'm saying the fad was back in 2005 when you had Swamp Man, you had the Swamp People, you had Turtle Man, you had all those weird ass shows on History and Discovery Channel.
What the heck was Turtle Man?
Turtle Man, look it up. Turtle Man. He does that. Turtle Man. He like caught like creatures that no one wanted to touch because they're normal. He went in there and grabbed them all.
We're going to have negative subscribers after this episode.
Well,
This is your fault, Steve.
if you can get like some inflections in your voice, it might not be so bad. But you're sitting there, it's like Bueller, Bueller.
Well, I can't help that. I'm sorry.
Okay, Joe Burrow is not getting traded. So is that
Well,
it? We done?
I was worried because, if he goes to the Bengals, I'll get to see him twice a year. So
Don't worry. You're going to get to see him twice a year. We're going to go to the first Bengals Steeler game, and you get to see Joe.
Oh, Mike Bloomberg commercials on Adam.
What's he saying?
It's on
He
mute.
shouldn't. That's the other thing. I don't even know why Bloomberg wanted to get into this debate. He's not even on the ballot for Nevada. I don't know if it was just he wanted to get out there as a dry run, but he's not even on the Nevada ballot.
It doesn't sound like he did a very good
He didn't do very good what, Steve? What did he do very good at?
the debate yesterday. Maybe he should have waited.
He should have waited, and he should have been more prepared. He knew those attacks were going to come with the NDAs, with redlining.
How about he just flat out said no to Joe Biden when Biden called him on those NBAs?
Here, the problem with that is companies like his company, Bloomberg, $1 billion company, all companies have NDAs. Everyone does NDAs. So it's not unusual to have NDAs, right? When you have someone working for you and you're making a lot of money with your company, you're going to want to have something set up so that these people can't just come in and then just allege something and not be truthful and then get all kinds of money. Like, you have to have some type of protection. That's what he came out and should have said. Like, hey, listen, I have these NDAs. I own a business. We're very successful. I don't trust everyone that comes out and says things against me. You can't trust everyone that comes out. You had these NDAs. Again, he apologized, which he shouldn't have done, like I said. But everyone says stupid shit. They were getting on him because he said some jokes, like a horse-faced woman joke or whatever. I don't know. But just own it. Be like, yeah, I made some comments back in the day, which everyone does. Like, I'm over it. That's why Trump is so successful, because he owns it. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't fall prey to the woke culture. Because if you watch the debate, as soon as he apologized, man, Warren just fucking ate him up.
Not good.
And he did not, so everyone knows, he did not stand on a box either.
Yeah. Trumpy.
And then you have then you have Joe Biden out there, which he probably doesn't even know what the hell state he is. God bless him. And anytime there was an argument on stage, like there was a debate, he would just chime in and say, I helped make whatever. I did this. I got the experience. It's just, I can't believe that these are the people that they're putting up against Trump. Like, you're telling me, and this goes back to 2016, you're telling me there's no one else that people could choose from. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Pete Buttigieg, who's a fucking mayor. He's a mayor.
We got 9 more months of this.
I know. Well, here's a good thing with Bernie. If Bernie doesn't win a nomination, the debates between him and Trump are going to be hilarious. Those will be great.
Maybe we can live podcast during those.
Oh, yes.
Those will be phenomenal because they will go at each other. They will be cutthroat. Bernie, that's what the only funny thing that Bloomberg said last night was like, we're doing well whenever the most known socialist in this country is a millionaire. He has 3 houses. And Bernie's like, yeah, I know, I do. But did you see that guy who got arrested for the 139th time?
No.
In New York City? Because fucking the Democrats are insane. And not all Democrats. Like the moderates, which is most of the country, are normal individuals. But it's the New York City, it's the LA, it's the Chicago people who are just absolutely live in a bubble, and they pander to the woke culture. So they have this bail reform, which basically saying, like, for any kind of petty crimes, like nonviolent crimes, you don't have to have bail. So this dude got arrested his 6th time this year and his 139th time overall. And he actually said when he came out of the courthouse, he's like, I want to just thank the Democrats for doing all this. This is great. Like, I'll take your money because they can't do anything about it. Democrats love me. Republicans fear me. It's lovely. And that's why so many people are leaving New York. I mean, there's a huge rush coming out of New York City because people were tired of de Blasio, dude. He's a joke. Like, he's unbelievable. He's so dumb. That's why they get on Bloomberg. But Bloomberg had good policies that worked with crime. And he saved a lot of lives. But because we live in this culture now where you can't you step on eggshells everywhere you go. And the way that he came out did not help at all because he made it sound like it was just straight racial profiling, which you can't do. That's not right.
Well, that is true. Racial profiling is not right.
And the whole thing was like, stop, question, and frisk. It wasn't just like, stop, frisk this motherfucker, and then move on. You question, you find out, and then you frisk.
All right, guys. Anything else for tonight?
I think Adam said enough for both of us, Steve.
I think
I got DB thinking over there as a guy who owns 2 businesses. He's like, you know what? I don't like this Bernie guy.
I don't need any more taxes.
Adam, as you heard, DB set up some kind of video game. He's been playing for the last 35 minutes. He has no idea what we talk about.
No, he doesn't. He knows he's playing right now.
I only wish. Yeah. I would not do that to you guys.
He hooked up his Super Nintendo. He's playing GoldenEye. He hasn't heard a damn thing.
That'd be the
DB,
64.
Did you see the DB got some newsletters going out now? I like that.
Where did you see it, on Instagram or on Facebook?
Facebook.
Yes.
Wait a minute. On Instagram.
Yes.
You did work on Instagram.
Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. I gotta go. I got to go.
Well, let me check our podcast Instagram account and see if there's any fucking thing on there.
Come on, Steve. You know he didn't do it. You know his wife did it. Come on. Let's be honest.
No?
You think DB knows how to navigate around Facebook?
DB's not on Facebook, but somehow he
have
knows how to
Facebook.
use it.
Hey, tricks of the trade, my friend. Tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
DB said he sat at home all day. He didn't post one goddamn thing to our Instagram account.
I didn't say I sat at home all day.
Thanks, DB.
Hey, no problem, Steve. Thanks for giving me McDonald's this morning.
I had to get me some coffee.
All right, guys.
All right, as always, griftersilladvised@gmail.com, but nobody's listening at this point, so it doesn't matter. And don't try to get a hold of us on Instagram because DB doesn't do anything there. Twitter, search for us, Grifters Ill Advised. All right, guys, we'll do this again tomorrow.
Great.
Good
Can't
night.
wait.
All right, later.